you mentioned earlier that having a good team is key, right? And you even mentioned Dave Mann's Laundromat Millionaire, yep. Dave Mann's his team and having a good team. Man. You've given your team a shout out for having a good team. How does one go about building a solid team? What does that look like?
Yeah. So to give you some perspective, because when I say this number, you're probably going to be like, why is he interviewing that many people for laundry business? So we have at our peak, we had 12 people on our team. So now we're around 7.5 people on our team working with us on the laundry side. But out of all our business together with Jess, we have about 200 team members. So I sit in on a lot of interviews, and I really believe in sitting in interviews. It gives me a perspective of understanding and just having conversations with people. But to answer your question, how do you go about building a good team? There is no magic questions to ask people. There's no perfect application to have. There's no secret assessment that you can give them to figure out who's going to be a great team member, who's going to be a bad team member. Out of all the years, and I've probably interviewed thousands and thousands of people between all of our businesses, I've found two things that work. People who are nice. That's my huge criteria. If you're nice, you have to have that. And you have work ethics. One of them I can kind of figure out in the interview, but I really can't because everybody shows up with their representative on the interview. It's a honeymoon for 3 months, give or take.
Right.
And then the work ethic, I don't know. It's what they tell me. You can call. I don't call references anymore. I barely even read resume. I don't even really read resumes. I just glance at them to see what kind of work history they have on there, so I can ask them specific questions about it to see if they really did it. Right. And in the laundry business, like, what are you really going to ask? Like, I don't know what the stats are, but probably, I don't know, 7 out of 10 laundromat workers are off the books. So if I call a laundromat, they tell me they work there, that person is probably going to be a little scared to answer questions because they could think I'm calling from the Department of Labor or something, trying to, bust them. So I don't call references. And sometimes the references are their friends or like family members. They're going to tell me they're the greatest person in the world.
Right. Well, I'm not going to give you a bad reference, right?
Right. Like, I want you to hire Jordan because I want him off my couch and make some money. So, I look for those two things, work ethics and are they nice? And those are two things I can't train someone. Like, either you're born with it or somehow you acquire it from the environment that you're in. Mm-hmm. So those are the two things I look for. If you got an open mind, I can teach you anything that I know or we can learn together. But my biggest thing is I just go with my gut. Like, I talk to people. If I get a good feeling from them during the interview process, and sometimes I'll do 2-3 interviews. The other thing I've done that I've seen some success from, I do like this trial thing. I've hired team members at the store, especially when we were doing a lot of folding at the self-service store before we moved it to another location. I would like, listen, you come in for a week, you're going to like do some drop off, you're going to run the store. You could get a feel for how we operate. And then we get a feel for how you work and make sure it's a good fit. I did that a few times. It worked well in some occasions, and other occasions it was just a total nightmare because it didn't work out. And then there was the whole logistics, like, oh, I want my last check and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can mail it to you, come pick it up. And it just was a nightmare. But I like to try. I would suggest people, you could try the trial method. I know plenty of entrepreneurs who do it and it works super well for them. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you just got to go with your feelings. Like, you interview people, what's the saying? Like, fire fast, hire slow. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of mixed depending on the business and what you're doing. There's a lot of times I've hired people on the first. I just hired a lady 2 weeks ago, mature. I think she's going to be a freaking superstar. She's mature. I don't know. She's probably in her mid 60s and she wants to work. And she's going through a tough patch right now because of COVID and everything. And in the interview, she told me some of her story. We all got a little misty-eyed in the interview. And I was like, listen, how many interviews have you gone on? Like, how many people have called you? And she was like, I went on this many. People don't call me. And I was like, why do you think they're not calling you? She told me why. And I was just like, listen, you don't have to go on another interview after today. I was like, you're hired right now. I was like, as long as you pass the background check and everything else we got to do, I was like, I'm telling you right now, you got a job. And she started crying. I was like, get the Kleenex out. Like we all did. Like, one of my HR team members, like she was all amped up, punched me in my shoulder in the meeting. She's like, I love working here. And I'm just like, yeah, I was just like, you got to take a chance. My manager at the Soapbox right now, it's an awesome story. She was in the food service business. She knew nothing about laundry. She came to an interview and she was like, I want to work. She's like, I'm a hard worker. I'm a good person, but nobody wants to give me a shot. And she told me how she went on her last interview before she came to meet with me. And it was at a fast food service, fast food. And she met with the manager. She knew the store. She knew the business backwards and forwards on food service. She's been doing it for years. And she didn't get the job because she didn't have the look. And that's all it was. She didn't have the look. What the look is, Jordan, she goes back to the store. She even told the manager, I will work free for a week so you can see that I know I can do this job. I know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. She went back afterwards to check in with him like a couple of weeks later. And he had hired some young lady who fit the look I guess he was looking for behind the counter, with her uniform fitting a certain way, and didn't give my manager a shot. And I want her to this day, she hasn't told me who this guy is, so I can go over, shake his hand, and thank him for not hiring her.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I want to hug him. I might even write him a check and say thank you. Because she came in, she's nice, and she has work ethics. And that's all I needed. And she's been, listen, I go to my store 1 day a week. And if it wasn't for her, and don't get me wrong, she's got a great supportive team around her too. They're super awesome. I go to the store 1 day a week. And like that 1 day is a day I have to go to do some things. But I go other times during the week. But if I literally said I'm not going to the store unless I have to, I would only have to go 1 day a week. And that 1 day would only be for like 3-4 hours. Because one, we've created processes, which is another conversation we can have about building a business and having processes and systems in place. But she manages those processes and systems very well. And so does the rest of the team. So the tip on hiring people is get a good feeling for people and take a chance. Take a chance on people, because somebody took a chance on us somewhere throughout our life. Mm-hmm. And people take chances on us every day with their laundry. New customers drop their laundry off. They take a chance with us. They're trusting us not to lose it and fade it or bleach it or do whatever can happen with it, shrink it. So if people taking a chance on us every day, let's take a chance on some other people who come in, looks like they have their stuff together. Listen, I don't want to say what's the worst that can happen, but let's be realistic. You hire them, it doesn't work out. Listen, you shake their hand and you part ways and you go find the next person, because you not hiring somebody is keeping you that further away from finding the next person. If you haven't realized, it's a freaking numbers game. The more people I interview, the more people I work with, the closer I'm getting to to creating a great team, because there's no perfect team, but I'm creating a great team. So if I keep procrastinating, I don't know about this person, they've got gray hair. Oh, they're missing a tooth, or I don't know, their shirt was unbuttoned during the interview, et cetera, et cetera. I'm never going to find the good team members. So yeah, roll the dice.
I love that. And listen, I'll be honest. I think you get laughed out of business school for saying your hiring criteria is be nice and good work ethic. Right. But that is like, that's what you're looking for, especially in a job like this, right? If you're looking for a neurosurgeon, maybe you got to find a little bit more than that, right? Yeah. But in our industry, that is what you need, right? If somebody's going to treat customers well and treat the teammates well, and they're going to work hard and like what they do and want to do what they're supposed to do, that is the makings of a great team right there, right?
100%.
And if you hire somebody you find out after you hire them that they don't fit that and they're not meshing with the rest of the team, like you said, you shake their hand, just agree that it's not a great fit for them and go find somebody else. And I love that. I love that. Easier said than done.
It is.
But I love the simplicity it's like a profound simplicity. Maybe it's just you're hitting me at a right time where I'm hiring some people right now too. And I'm like, man, I love that. But man, I think it's a profound simplicity on what to look for in a team.
Yeah. Like Jordan, we so overcomplicate stuff. Like even in how I said I wouldn't do delivery before. I said the same thing about dry cleaning. Mm-hmm. Like my dad was like, "Oh, don't do dry cleaning. Like the garments are too expensive, and if something goes wrong." And I'm like, why are we always going to talk about what could go wrong? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about everything that could go right with this. Like, First of all, let's be real here on this podcast. The margins in dry cleaning are ridiculous. Like when I started doing dry cleaning, I was like, wait a minute, my wholesaler is going to charge me this. And the market will bear this number. I was like, oh, hell no. We're doing dry cleaning. Like, oh, I was like, get on Vistaprint. I was like, make a banner, put outside, dry cleaning now available, put it on the website. And I was like, and we're not even going to talk about commercial dry cleaning. Like I just got 2 emails while we're talking about having some discussions about commercial accounts for dry cleaning. Yeah, there's way more positive than negative. And I think that's where people need to focus on. And let's be there. When you need to hire a brain surgeon, go get one. Mm-hmm. But if you're hiring someone to work your front counter at your cafe, your laundromat, your supermarket, your deli, keep it simple. Find good people, great customer service, and people who want to better themselves and they buy into what you're doing in your business. You know, it's super, it's hard, but it's super simple at the same time.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.